Over the weekend, we got a huge breakthrough on this Nolan Wells case. We got the shady 911 call, but first, let me give you a quick rundown for those who aren't too familiar with the case. So Nolan Wells will be back in his hometown of Ocean Springs, Mississippi. It's the summertime, college break. He's with his old high school buddies. They decide it's July 4th. What do you do in Ocean Springs, Mississippi? According to everybody else, they go to Horn Island. Horn Island is a popular hangout spot. You dock your boat. Everybody kind of stands in waist-high water. They're drinking. They're all under 21. And it says that they departed around 9:56 a.m. 11:15 a.m. the group arrives at Horn Island, where there's hundreds of people celebrating the 4th. Now around 3 to 4:30 p.m., that is an unclear period that everybody's trying to figure out. The friend said that Nolan was last seen talking with a young woman, and allegedly she decided to stay on the island while others left because their boat was having mechanical problems. Nolan's family strongly disputes that he would have willingly stayed behind. They know their son. Also, the young lady would come out and say, no, I saw him get on the boat and leave. He did not stay back with me. By evening, the boat would return to the mainland, and at some point after realizing Nolan had not returned, authorities would be notified that he is missing. Nolan's family would track his iPhone, and it would be recovered at a friend's house, a friend of Nolan, and it would appear that messages have been deleted, Snapchat videos have been swiped, but there's no sign of Nolan. 2 days later, they would find Nolan's body near Horn Island, and this would officially turn into a death investigation. Other shady things will be going on. The kids would lawyer up, one of their parents being already a judge. The autopsy would happen. The family of Nolan Wells would do their own private autopsy. But for whatever reason, Nolan was missing his lungs and his throat.
A teen's mysterious death getting nationwide attention after attending a July 4th boat trip with friends and never returning home. Now, a Mississippi grand jury will determine if criminal charges will be brought after the family's private autopsy couldn't rule out foul play in Nolan Wells' death.
There were 300 to 400 people out on Horns Island. You mean to tell me nobody saw anything?
Any parent that would be in this situation, you would do anything to find out what happened to your child.
Joining us now, Nancy Grace, former special prosecutor and host of Crime Stories with Nancy Grace. You know, Nancy, Attorney Ben Crump there has a point. You mean no one saw anything? Where do you see this investigation, where things stand?
I've got a lot of problems with the investigation so far, but remember, we are seeing through a mirror darkly. We don't know all the evidence. There's been one state's autopsy, and that has not been released. The family sent the body of Nolan Wells for a second independent autopsy, and that autopsy says undetermined. But this is what I do know, Griff. I know on the back of his head, the occipital bone back here, there is deep red subcutaneous tissue. It's not anywhere else. It is not pooling of the blood once he's died. The blood pools at the lowest point. It's not that, because it's only there. I'm curious, does that suggest a blow to the head? There are many accidental possibilities. When you look at the video out there, there are tons of boats. They're close together. Did he drink and drown in between one of those boats and nobody noticed? I don't know that. However, that deep reddening on the occipital bone is very disturbing to me. Also, you think, oh, he drowned, but we don't have the lungs. When the second autopsy got the body, the lungs and the throat were missing. Now, I understand, Griff, why they took the lungs to determine if he had drowned, but why was the neck missing? What about the interior of the throat sparked the initial medical examiner's concern? Was there some bruising on the neck? I don't know. So right now, it could go in so many different directions.
Come on, dog. How do you deliver a body, but you don't deliver the throat? What about that throat was so important that it was held behind? Where are the lungs at? We gotta figure something out. It's a lot of shady business going on. Now, an emergency phone call would be made and it would break the internet. Because we finally got some of the proof that we needed that shows that something happened on that boat and that these boys are lying. Mind you, this phone call isn't for Nolan's well-being. This phone call is about a sinking boat. Now, I want you to pay attention at the beginning of the video because apparently they were on hold, but what they don't know is that the phone call is still being recorded before anybody addresses them. And you can clearly hear them giving aid, asking Nolan to wake up. Something was going on that boat while this emergency call was happening.
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can y'all please come? We have a membership. Hey, up! Shut the fuck up!
Now, over the weekend, one of Nolan's friends, quote unquote, best friends, somebody that he was so close with, did an interview. And we got somebody here that's gonna question the behavior of somebody who's supposed to be in the stages of grief.
Nolan, I could describe Nolan in a million ways. I mean, Nolan was not just a best friend of me, but he was a brother. I grew up through elementary, middle school, high school, and even our freshman year of college. You know, we talked on the phone all the time. We were really close friends. And I mean, Nolan was like a brother to me. And Nolan lit up every room he walked in. He always had a smile on his face. He always had something good to say. I've never seen Nolan get in an argument with somebody.
There's another video that I saw of Warren Hudson discussing the details of the day that he got separated from Nolan Wells when he went missing. I want you to watch this clip and let me explain the things that stood out to me as I watched it.
People say that you guys just left Nolan behind. I've seen reports of people saying that you just left him. I see reports of people saying that you asked him to get on the boat. You told him to get on the boat, he didn't. What's the truth in that?
Well, Wyatt was having boat issues and the bilge wouldn't pump. So the bilge is basically a pump that releases water from your boat when water comes in. So I opened the back hatch and there's water up to the batteries. And that is obviously not good. There's water almost coming over the transom, which is where your motors sit and which is by the stern, like in the back part of the boat. So obviously we were in emergency. The boat, we're trying to save the boat. It's not like we didn't ask Nolan or we just left Nolan. Nolan decided to stay on the island with the girl that he was with. And the girl is a witness to that too.
Yeah.
I'm a practicing psychotherapist. I've been working with clients who've been struggling with issues like things like grief for over 20 years. And this young man is behaving very unusually. I'm gonna give you some examples to demonstrate as to what I mean. Number one, the person doing the interview, whose name I will not say because I do not support him, he brought him to the location where this happened. That should have been a massive trigger. You just lost your best friend that you say is like a brother to me, that you explained we went to elementary school, middle school, high school together and continued to stay close through our first year of college. And now you're going back to the site where he lost his life. That is unusual. People who experience an emotional connection to somebody and they lose them, you could take that person back to the spot where they lost a friend or loved one 30 years later and it should trigger them. You're back 2 weeks later and having no emotional response to being in that location. That is very, very odd. I also strongly believe that his interview and his responses are being coached and was well rehearsed. Notice how many times, and you can see this throughout all of the interviews, but notice how many times he repeats himself. He doesn't refer to Nolan by any other phrase except Nolan. He doesn't say, man, my boy, or my good buddy, I can't believe. He doesn't say any of that. Just Nolan, 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 Nolan. That is unusual, and that level of repetitiveness tells me that this is a rehearsed response. Now, as a psychotherapist, we get trained as this kind of thing because very often we interview children who've had a traumatic experience through the family courts, like domestic violence or a divorce proceeding, or sometimes through SA. We have to interview children, and you can tell when the children have been coached by exactly things like this. I'll give you another thing that's really important that stood out to me. When people lie, they go into deep, irrelevant details. So when he was asking that clip about, like, did you ask Nolan to come back with you? He goes into a deep explanation on what a bilge is and the functionality of a boat. That has nothing to do with what is going on right now. But when people are telling stories, they oftentimes will give very deep explanations that have absolutely nothing to do with the content of the conversation itself. These are all things that let me know this young man is hiding something. I do not know what. I cannot tell you exactly what it is, but this would be incredibly alarming. And I think the last thing is he describes like Nolan want to stay with a girl, but 100% he should absolutely be saying things like, I wish I hadn't let him. Something told me, man, we need to stick together as a group. I wish I had asked one of the other friends to stay on the boat with Nolan. There is no evidence of remorse coming from this young man at all. He is simply repeating the story, detail by detail, with no remorse, no tears, no pain, no anxiety, no affect change as he tells the story. He's just telling the story, and he's explaining it in such a way that absolves him of any responsibility and puts all of the responsibility on Nolan. He has previously in other interviews said Nolan was drinking. He did not say we were drinking. He said Nolan wanted to stay. He did not say we supported Nolan saying, like, it's just all on Nolan. And again, 100% of the time, he should be saying something like, Nolan wanted to stay with the girl, but I wish we hadn't let him. Nolan wanted to stay with the girl, but we shouldn't have let him do that by himself. One of us should have stayed with him. He's not saying any of that. He is simply recounting the details of the story as if it's like a chapter in a book, as if it was just like a random day where nothing unusual happened, not like it's the day where he lost his best friend and someone he refers to as brother. What did you notice in the comments, and what did you think of my analysis?
Very, very, very questionable behavior. And I'll say this, man. At this point, the truth is gonna unravel. Y'all could cover it up. Y'all could try to do your thing in the media to throw people off. At the end of the day, those boys that he got on the boat with sound like it's some women on that boat. Somebody needs to speak up, because it sounds like it could possibly be just one person who did it. But instead, everybody's covering it up is now going to be in trouble because they're interfering with the investigation. And if y'all are covering up for one person, why is his life and his future more important than Nolan Wells? Nolan Wells deserves justice. He's dead. This guy's still living. His family can go see him in prison, but instead, all of y'all are going to prison now. Don't worry about it. Too many holes in this story. And the people that are choosing to say that these boys are innocent, let it be your child. I want to see how y'all would react if your child was in this same scenario. And let's reverse this. People saying y'all are making it a race thing. You damn right it's a race thing. Because if it was 3 black boys and 1 white boy ended up dead, guess what? This investigation wouldn't be lollygagging. I'm talking about these boys would have been in jail. They found one boy with the cell phone. I don't know no 18-year-old that's just leaving their cell phone on a boat. And then people are also saying, oh, you got Reverend Al Sharpton, you got all these celebrities, Tyler Perry, everybody's getting this money involved. The parents just want to, have a financial gain. No. This type of money that they're getting donated to them is to fund their own investigations, their own autopsies, to bring their son to justice? How dare anybody tell them how they're supposed to cope with losing their son? We need answers, and they will come. They may not be here tomorrow. They may not be here in a month. But whoever did this is going to go down. We just need this Mississippi justice system to step it up. We got to get the feds involved, something. But we'll see how this goes, man. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this situation, man. Like, share, subscribe, comment, hit that notification bell, hit that hype button. We out, baby. Boom.
Just LaFlare.
It's him.